So my interview was to my good friend Jorge, back from Spain, from the Canary Islands. He's the president and the coordinator of the Scouts group where we both worked. And he has been there for over 10 years now, working as an educator. He has been working in the outdoors since 2010, but he has been involved in the Scouts, the Scout world, since he was 6. His professional and academic background are not related to the outdoors education or to the outdoors. He's an engineer and he has a master's degree in teaching, but he has no formal training as a outdoor educator or in personal social development. I chose to interview Jorge because he has several years of experience working in the outdoors or in the outdoor education world, in different positions and different roles inside the association, but he's not a proper expert. So my aim was to see what did he perceived from the personal social development aspect without a formal training on it. This is also a big issue since we don't have a recognized training back home for outdoor educators, and this is a very big fight we are having since a couple of years now, since we are also a federal association and a recognized one also worldwide. My aim was to see or to understand how someone without a formal training on personal social development could understand or explain an approach to gender narrative and gender perspective inside the outdoor world and the outdoor education. We had a very interesting conversation on the topic of gender narratives and the gender discourse, focused on the perspective of the participants and the leaders of the Scouts group where we worked. I focused my interest during the interview on the idea of shared spaces and non-gendered spaces, such as spaces to sleep and the use of toilets, regardless the gender of the participants and the instructors, and how was this perceived in the Scouts group, inside the whole association, and also from other perspectives such as the families of the participants, new instructors that come and join the group, and also from the participants themselves in comparison to other contexts such as school. Also, my focus was to see how this living together was affecting their relationships or their development or their personal and social development. So when I approached Jorge about this issue, he said it was a very natural and really embedded into the life of the group aspect or thing. It's not a problem at all, and there's no questioning how this happened, how this sharing the spaces happens. He has had some questioning from the families, because sometimes it's hard for them to understand or to see why are the participants going to share spaces to sleep and also toilets. But then again, it's well explained so that the family won't complain after all. Also, just to clarify, when I'm talking about using toilets, I'm referring to toilets and not showers. Showers are kept separately when it comes to use them. When I also approached Jorge about the legality or the legal issues of having minors sharing spaces to sleep, he said that to his knowledge there is no law in Spain that would prevent spaces from being shared in this aspect. As for the new instructors or leaders that join the group yearly, they also embrace way of teaching or this hidden curricula, and until today we haven't had any complaints or any questioning methods. And so since this is a very naturally approached aspect of camping, for example, and we, the instructors, are embracing it and sharing it and enjoying it, then children, or the participants in this case, won't see it as a strange thing or as a complicated thing. So we as instructors are setting an example. The idea of allowing the participants to share the space or to decide whether they want to share spaces and with whom is, in Jorge's words, very positive, and it has been shown through the years the positive effects that this has. For example, participants afterwards have a very open mind, and they have big facilities to work in mixed gendered teams, and they also are very mindful of the other. These positive aspects, also supported with the example from the instructors, is for Jorge very important. One of the aspects that he says as examples of the behavior of the instructors to achieve a very gender neutral or gender positive space are the behavior of the instructors when assigning different roles inside the campings, and how the roles are distributed regardless of the gender of the instructors. Also, the way we speak, the language that is used, both in casual conversations and inside activities, both with other instructors and with the participants, and also sharing the same philosophy towards sharing spaces and creating non-gendered spaces amongst the instructors. For Jorge, the representation of women in leading roles is very valued, and it's also very important to set an example for the women in the next generations and also for male. Not only he advocates for the idea of having more and more neutral spaces or non-gendered spaces in education or in the outdoor education, but also he truly believes the need of having proper training for educators, teachers, and instructors in sexual education, so that we could explain to the participants the value of sharing spaces regardless of gender. Jorge has also worked in different contexts, different education contexts, and he's aware of the differences that exist amongst the context, the different educational contexts, and he sets the example of an outing with a school where the children, the students, need to share space, but it's going to be gendered, to sleep, for example, or to use the toilets, whether as in the Scouts group, in outings that the association does, those spaces don't need to be gendered. To conclude, I would like to highlight the most important topics, the positive aspects that Jorge sees in having non-gender spaces to share, which are in this case bedrooms or tents, and toilets, and as I said before, this excludes the use of showers, that it's a personal choice and not only to force someone to share a tent regardless of their gender. He's also aware there might be a lot of different causes behind this choice, and depending on the age of the participants, a lot of factors that would be acting on. The need of proper training for teachers, educators, and instructors in sex ed, the example set by the instructors and how we interact with each other.